Let's move over to Hawaii, and we've seen those horrible wildfires in Maui, and Joe Biden was on holiday in Delaware during a lot of that. Now, he's announced finally that he will visit Maui, the island that was devastated by those wildfires, but he's been staying very, very quiet for most of the week. Have a listen to the president when he was asked about it earlier.
Will you come talk about the Hawaii response, Mr. President?
Brianna, this seemed like very strange behavior from the president, and the more we hear about the Hawaiian disaster response, including fire hydrants that didn't have water and so on and so forth, it's really starting to look like there was a lot of different components to this tragedy.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's strange for Joe Biden, right? We remember in East Palestine, Joe Biden promised he would go. He still has not went to East Palestine to see the disaster and those people who had their lives affected. And I will juxtapose President Joe Biden's lounging on the beach, bike riding, saying no comment to Hurricane Harvey, right? This was just, 8 months into Donald Trump's first term. He donated $1 million of his personal money to recovery efforts to help communities that were impacted, right? He asked Congress for $7.9 billion in federal spending to help Texas and Louisiana, whereas now we're seeing right now $700 from the Biden administration to these survivors in Maui. So I do think it's a slap in the face when you juxtapose it to what we know could be done. And I will say one thing. I hope that the mainstream media in the United States has the same appetite for accountability that they had when Donald Trump was in office, because Politico wrote an article, "Is Donald Trump's response to Hurricane Harvey enough?" I want to know if Joe Biden's response to Maui is enough. That's what we want to know now.
And Naomi, on another note, too, we've had this whole thing about Bidenomics that we keep hearing out of the White House, and Joe Biden has been out pushing this idea as the center of his 2024 campaign. Have a listen to this.
The Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal initially called my plan Bidenomics. I'm not sure they meant it in a totally complimentary way at the time. But guess what? It's working.
Naomi, the whisper is back. But I've got to ask you, are people buying this Bidenomics shtick, and how are people in America seeing the day-to-day impacts of the Biden economic policies?
I think the timing of this anniversary event for the Inflation Reduction Act was kind of ill-timed because it came out the same week that we saw new inflation data that showed that month-on-month inflation ticked up, as well as annual inflation. And I think that just sort of undermined this case that the administration is trying to make in terms of people are feeling better off than they were when he became president. I think what they're relying on is that they have 15 months to make this case to the American public. But at the same time that could be an advantage for them, it could also be a disadvantage. We're sort of seeing mortgage rates, new data come out about mortgage rates being 21-year high, as well as sort of house prices, and because that was what has really made inflation sticky in this country. And so I think that people are not feeling it yet. They're pressed on this all the time. Their problem is also that they're going to have to contend with, the former president and his legal problems sort of, really dominating the news cycle here. So their avenue to get this message out is going to be sort of blunted, but that's what they're counting on. At the same time, I guess the 2022 midterms were also kind of hinging on the economy, and we found that Democrats outperformed at least expectations, although, House Republicans did take back the House. And so I think that it's a remains to be seen thing. A lot can happen in 15 months.
A lot can certainly happen in 15 months, and we're going to be bringing it all to you on the U.S. Report. Brianna Lyman, Naomi Lim, thank you so much for your time here on the U.S. Report.